This screencast is going to talk about functions of the nervous system. Before we talk about the functions of the nervous system, there are a couple of reminders. The first one is that the organs of the nervous system include the brain, the spinal cord, the nerves, and the sensory organs. Secondly, it's important to remember that nervous tissue is made up of cells called neurons, as well as cells called neuroglia. The neurons are responsible for actually conducting the electrical impulses. The neuroglia support this function by physically supporting the neurons within the tissue, insulating them, providing nutrients to the tissue, clearing out waste, etc. There are two main parts of the nervous system, the central nervous system, or the CNS, and the peripheral nervous system, or the PNS. The central nervous system includes the brain and the spinal cord. The peripheral nervous system, peripheral meaning near the edges, contains the nerves and the sensory receptors. So now on to the functions of the nervous system. There are three categories of functions of the nervous system. These are sensory, integrative, and motor. These three subfunctions of the nervous system work together in order to integrate, coordinate, and regulate the processes of the body. First, we'll talk about the sensory functions. So you have lots of changes and conditions that need to be monitored and detected. These could be internal or external. For example, this might be light or sound intensity. It could be temperature, oxygen, carbon dioxide, or blood sugar levels, the feeling of pain or pressure, or other things that may be inside or outside the body that need to be regulated. So for the sensory functions, the sensory receptors are going to gather this information, detect changes, and monitor overall conditions. This information is then conducted through electrical impulses to the central nervous system. Once in the central nervous system, the integrative functions will take over. Here, the signals are integrated, which means brought together, and then translated into perceptions, or an interpretation of the information. For example, it may take different things like light, noise, pictures to see that a baseball is being thrown at you or towards you. Then you'll integrate this information, so you'll bring together any sights that you're seeing or any noises that you're hearing in order to make a decision. This decision can either be conscious or subconscious. We often think of making decisions consciously, but there are lots and lots of decisions. In fact, the bulk of decisions that you make during the day are actually subconscious. They're being made without you fully being aware of them. Then we have our motor functions. Our motor functions are how we act on our perceptions, or how we carry out the decisions that our central nervous system has made. The impulses are going to go from the central nervous system to the peripheral nervous system. Here in the peripheral nervous system, the impulses will reach effectors, which are what are responsible for carrying out the changes that need to be made. Effectors are usually muscles or glands. So in the example of hitting a baseball, my integrative functions are to recognize that the baseball is coming towards me and to figure out timing. And then the motor functions are me actually swinging the bat. It's important to note that these can, again, be motor responses through our muscles or motor responses through our glands. We often think of motor as being movement, but it can also be glands. For example, your adrenal glands secreting adrenaline, or your sweat glands secreting sweat because the decision was made that you're too hot based on information that was gathered. So here's a quick summary of our functions of the nervous system. If you start over here at the sensory functions, you'll have sensory input coming in, being carried towards the brain. The brain and the spinal cord, the central nervous system, are what carry out the integrative functions, again, bringing all that information together, processing it, and making a decision. And then the motor functions are over here. The motor functions could be what's part of what's called the somatic nervous system, which are your skeletal muscles, or it could be your autonomic nervous system, which are your smooth muscles, your cardiac muscles, and your glands. So you can see all three types of muscles, and then you can see glands are here. So that's an overview of the functions of the nervous system.